Welcome inside the newest podcast here at Channel 1022 and SmeeSports. It is Inside the A&M. I am Nathan Smee, owner of SmeeSports. Alongside me, Marlington senior and MSJ football commit Bryson McCord. Bryson, I'm excited to start this with you. This was your idea, so I'm going to kind of let you do your thing here, and you're going to kind of be the filler piece of this, but you have a lot of great ideas, and I'm excited to work with you after working with you a couple months ago for that soccer game.
Yeah, I am very excited as well. I've always wanted to do a podcast, so I'm very, very excited.
It's going to be fun, as this is episode number 1. I feel giving the viewers at home an idea of what to expect would be a good place to start, especially with the title Inside the A&M. No, this isn't Texas A&M, any other A&M school. No. Alliance and Marlington, both schools within the Alliance area. And as well, the M can act as Mount Union in certain cases, as you will see as this podcast progresses. But still, it's a cool title. It integrates both Alliance and Marlington, which sends students here to the video production career tech program. So it's nice to give both of those schools some coverage and just see what's going on in athletics around this city.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm super excited, and I think it's going to be good coverage and give the full insight from like a viewer to like I go to both schools.
There you go, and it's definitely different because, as most of you know, I began my media career up in Cleveland at Holy Name in Parma Heights. It's very different up in Cleveland where you have LEL, GCC, Cleveland West, NCC, to down here, the EBC, Federal League, fill in another conference. Those two are the big ones.
Pac-8.
Pac-8 as well, and that's kind of gone down with CVCA jumping ship to the NCC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of teams leaving conference, and then the EBC gaining
Howland.
They're getting Howland, so yeah, no, very interesting.
But we'll start with the first game between Marlington and Alliance this year. The first 2025 Backyard Brawl, 61-44. A-Town gets the victory over their orange compatriots. Bryson, you were there. Your thoughts on the game?
Going into the game, I was super excited all day. I was thinking, like, this is going to be a great game. Obviously, rivalry game. And Marlington coming off a huge win against Salem, and then Alliance coming off a huge win over Minerva. Both teams looked really good in both games. So I'm thinking, like, it's gonna be back and forth the entire game, the energy, everything. But as soon as I got down on the floor, the energy down on the floor, Alliance, I knew Alliance was going to win it just off the energy they had in warm-ups, and then looking over at Marlington just wasn't high on energy. And I think that's another reason why Marlington's so good at home is because the home crowd brings so much energy. And with like being on the road at Alliance, they got a great set of fans. No matter where they are, it's loud, home or away. So I just felt like energy played a huge part in that game, and that's why we saw the result.
I think the game was over the moment the pep band stepped inside Harry Fails Gymnasium. You have the band, you have them playing loud. Even up in the broadcast booth, I could barely hear anything at that point. Mm-hmm. It was telling at that point.
Yeah, it was very telling. So, but I think they meet, at the end of the season, again at Marlington. I think that game's going to be completely different, where I don't think it's going to be like it was last game where it's like you knew Alliance was going to win in the first quarter. I think it's going to be back and forth the entire game.
And I have that game on the schedule for that exact reason. Even if it were to be a blowout, it's Alliance Marlington.
Right.
That is the primary rivalry out here. Once you get into Canton, then you go and see McKinley, Massillon, the North Canton schools. You see some other rivalries. But Alliance and Marlington is really unique because they're both within city lines, 10 minutes apart. A home game for one team might not really be a home game, especially if the other team travels very well. And we'll talk about that Marlington Gymnasium. It's smaller than Harry Fails, but it doesn't matter. Sound is able to project a lot more, very similar to Lutheran West back in Rocky River, Ohio, but it's slightly different. That atmosphere, if Marlington takes an early lead, it might be over from the start.
Yeah, no, that's usually how it goes going to the games. I've been unable to go to a game this year at home due to me working for Alliance. But no, like being in the gym the last 3 years for games and being in the student section, like especially our student section. Shout out to our student section. They're very it's a very good student section, both Alliance and Marlington. But being in that gym with our student section, our fans, and I mean just for one big play to happen, that pretty much settles the game.
Definitely, and we even saw it during volleyball regionals against Edgewood and against my alma mater of Holy Name. The Marlington fans transferred over from Marlington to Alliance to go and see that game. But you look at that student section, the Sarshone student section, that was a big difference in those games because they really kept getting into it. The Edgewood game, Marlington controlled the whole way through, but Holy Name, they somehow found a way to win set number 3 in that contest, and then the student section took over.
Yeah.
So we'll see that student section at Marlington play a big factor in that game on February 7th. Going into the meat and potatoes of that game, the big difference for Alliance was they had 5 scorers either A, in double figures, or B, on the cusp with 9. I believe 2 had 9, and then 3 had 10 plus, with J.R. Jackson leading the way with 13 points only in the first half, which I feel like the biggest takeaway from that game, you can disagree with me, Alliance doesn't solely rely on J.R. Jackson like so many people expected them to.
Yeah, I think, because I've been to every single game this year, it's really been, J.R. is going to go out and give you 20 every game. Don't matter what game it is, he's going to go give you 20. I think every game they've won this year, like especially, I go back to the Glen Oak game. Glen Oak, a federal school, very big game for Alliance, and JR gives you 20. He's always going to give you 20. It's just other guys stepping up. If other guys step up, and then Cam had 20 that game as well. Cam Burton, he had 20 as well, and made all of his free throws, and they won the game. That's because that's 40 points right there. And then you have other guys giving you 4, 6, 2, and yeah. And I also think just the defense Alliance has been playing all year has been really good, but in games they've lost, like Carrollton, Jared is going to give you 20, but then no one else is really hitting their shots.
And speaking of missing shots, Marlington has struggled in that department this year. Heading into the Alliance game on the 10th, it definitely updated after it. They're shooting 39% from the field, 24% from 3. Their motto in that game was drive and punish, and they really weren't able to, and by the time they were able to get into that rhythm, it was 3-point chuck time.
Right, yeah, and I think with, they had a suspension with their head coach, Evanich, last 2 games. It was just really sloppy, because Marlington they play plays, they have a bunch of plays, they play plays. And then Alliance doesn't have that much plays, they're just they're going to go make a play. But so I just think without their head coach, it was super sloppy, where guys are taking shots they wouldn't take if they had their head coach, because they know they're not going to go get yelled at when they go back to the bench. So they're just playing more free, but at the same time it was just really sloppy.
And Evanich has been at Marlington for 2 decades now. This is year number 21. If you count the win before the Backyard Brawl into his total wins as head coach, that would put him at 244 as a Duke. So there is still an outside chance heading into the next Backyard Brawl that on home court he could win for the 250th time as a Marlington Duke head coach, which would be another really big layer to that game, as you really don't see that out here. We've seen that a lot in this conference. I know yesterday Perry's old head coach was confirmed as the new Minerva coach. Mm-hmm. Those coaches usually spend 3 to 5 years at wherever they are, and then they go off to somewhere else. And we see that a lot around here, but not at all for Coach Evanich. He's been
yeah.
Next year's number 22, and I assume he'll keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think obviously it's always huge to have a coach like that. Taking it back to football, we play Northwest as our out-of-league game, and I forget their coach's name. I know he coached at Louisville for the longest time, and then went to Northwest, and he's been there for a couple years. So, but just having guys like that who are, they know what they're doing, they've been in the system, and they're recruiting players from when they're in middle school and seeing how they're going to progress when they go into high school. And just having the same system. And it's huge to be a guy, which I've had 3 head coaches in high school in football. And it's hard to transfer systems every single year. Because for 3 years straight, I had 3 different systems. So, but to have the same system all 4 years of your high school career, that's huge.
Yeah, and that is John DeMarco over at Northwest. I was at his 100th win. It was at Canton South, a team that took them out in the playoffs last year and in Week 10. But this year, it was different. That atmosphere was really cool to see. Even though Northwest had to make the trip over to Canton, they still traveled well. And then the next week, the home game, which I was also at against Orange, Parker Kraft put up his historic 426 yards. Yeah. That crowd was loving it. And Coach DeMarco, he is one of the most humble coaches that you'll meet. He does not take any of the credit, even though he is the guy who has been coaching these guys up for how many years? 4 years plus. I'm sure some at the middle school level. He doesn't take credit for it, and that is why that team works so well. And same thing with Marlington. You see them have a balanced attack. Any day you can see Evanich, you can see Woods, you can see Hetherington. Any of those guys, really, including Yoder, who just came back from injury, be the top scorer in a game in a selfless system.
Right, yeah. And that's just, like I said, it's huge to have a system like that. And definitely is you win a little more ball games having your coach.
Taking a look at some former Alliance and Marlington players outside of high school and now in college. Two of them are actually at Mount Union playing on the girls' basketball team. Marlington fans, you know and love these players from your great run a few years ago. Elizabeth Mason, who I believe won Freshman of the Year last year in OAC play, and Chelsea Evanich, who was arguably the best ever basketball player to put on a Marlington Dukes jersey. That one's up for debate, but she is definitely a top 10 player, top 5 on the girls team.
Right, yeah, and honestly, like, I wouldn't want to guard Chelsea Evanich. I wouldn't want to guard Chelsea, especially in the paint. I wouldn't want to guard her. And same as Elizabeth Mason. When I watched her play in high school, when they made the run to the regional, I think that's how far they went. Just seeing her mechanics and her shot and the plays that she makes, she's very smart, and it's definitely been translating up to the second level.
When you see Chelsea Evanich play, I know a lot of people throw out pro comparisons of that three-pointer looks like Steph Curry. You can go on with those kind of comparisons. LeBron's another one I'm going to throw out, but you see the way she posts up, steps back, and fades and makes a mid-range. It's very similar to the way that LeBron attacks the lane. He doesn't necessarily drive all the way in. He is able to hit from range, and that is what makes Chelsea a great player from the field. As her three-point game, she rarely takes a three, but when she does, 9 times out of 10, it will go in. But when she drives, she can either attack with a simple layup or fade away like LeBron's post move, and both of them are equally effective.
Right, yeah. So, and then just like, I honestly give credit to Big Evanich, Nick Evanich. I mean, just being like you see Connor the oldest, Cam, and Chelsea, just ballers, and you got to give credit to their dad for sure.
And going off of Elizabeth Mason, I believe she is the leading scorer this year for Mount Union. Tomorrow they have a big game against BW. BW's coach, I believe, is the most winningest coach in D3 history. She hit number 700 a few weeks ago. She is just going and going. Such a talented team at BW. But this Mount Union team, they can definitely go far this year in the playoffs. Their rotation, it's so deep. They have a lot of players, and Evanich isn't the only freshman getting good game time. You have Lily Scott coming in from Youngstown Ursuline, and for those of you who follow high school sports, when you hear Youngstown Ursuline, you think a top program no matter what the sport is. There are a lot of good players down the road on Clark Avenue that can definitely make an impact in big games. They might just take a couple of years to really get in a groove. I'm excited to see Elizabeth Mason as a senior, Chelsea Evanich as a junior, and to see what that team can do in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, no, definitely huge for Mount Union.
And then another alum, this time from Alliance, Zerbrug, the old quarterback. He went to Oklahoma. Now he's going over to Cam Rising's home for the past 25 years, basically, of Utah.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited for Zerb, man. Just kind of being growing up like he's always been. He's a year older than me. So, but I mean, just like watching him play and off film and stuff. I mean, I'm super stoked for him. Oklahoma was huge, and I think going to Oklahoma for just that year was huge. I mean, if you think back, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Dylan Gabriel, like all of these top quarterbacks have won the Heisman there, and to be in that system pretty much, and just like learning for that year, that's huge. Just being a freshman and redshirting, and just learning all that, and then to be able to transfer out and go to Utah, where I think he fits perfectly in their system. Watching Utah over the course of the last couple of years, I think it's a great spot for him. So I'm super excited for Zerb, man.
As I mentioned, Cam Rising, he has been there for so long. If he does choose to come back next year, if he does have eligibility, or even if not, and he's around that program, if Zerbrook can learn from a player like Cam Rising, who has been around the game since Baker took it over, Kyler Murray, those days, up until now where NIL is king, that would be really huge for Zerbrook. I mean, you compare the records, 5-7 versus 6-7. The difference is a bowl game for Oklahoma, which they lost, but still, conferences. Both teams struggled in conference play last year. Utah 2-7, Oklahoma, I believe, 2-6. Both teams have room to improve, but Utah, now that they have Zerbrook, who played in a tough EBC conference, obviously West Branch, a good team, Carrollton in there, and some other surrounding schools, he is prepared for that big moment, and if he does get his chance next year, I think we will see him make the most of it.
Right, yeah, and I think just like another big thing about having Zerb, I think he's just a great guy in the locker room. Zerb is just overall just a great guy. I think his mental is where it should be. I actually just listened to some interview he was on recently, and just like, hearing him talk from before Oklahoma and after, I think his mental's in a great spot. I think he's just overall better. Like I said, just going to Oklahoma for that year and learning so much, and just hearing his mental, and I haven't seen his play, but I'm assuming like his play definitely got up, and hopefully after spring ball, I was hoping to work with him before we both have to go off to college. But yeah, no, like I said, I'm just super excited for him, man.
And speaking on that, as I mentioned in the opener, you are committed to Mount St. Joseph, a team known for consistency. As you told me, the last couple of years they have won the conference title, and this year making it to the NCAA D3 tournament. Just talk about how excited you are to get started there, and what do you think your impact can be, even if it's not on the field year one?
I'm super excited, like overly excited to go there. From the day I stepped, the first time I ever took a visit there, it just felt like home, and just the coaches and the players like just have like a strong bond that they got, and I just think like with the reason I chose there, and I went so early, because I mean it really felt like home. Great schooling, perfect system. 2 years ago, our quarterback coach now, Josh Taylor, won the Heisman, or not the Heisman, or like the D3 Heisman. But to be in that system, like the best passing offense in the country, not in just D3, but in the country 2 years ago, and this past year having a freshman receiver go for 1,400 yards, quarterback threw for 3,000 something, maybe 4,000 I think. But just a good system, great coaches, great guys, great schooling, most important, great schooling. And I'm super excited to go there, man.
I know going back to that game that we did in September together, you told me MSJ, that was your number one choice. It has been there for a long time. Wishing the best of luck to you. And obviously this year maybe didn't go the way you wanted it to, but you did get one opportunity to go at Alliance. Every year before then, injury or something else held you out of that game. I asked you then what you were looking forward to playing that game. Now, looking back a couple of months, it was the last game of high school ball you played. Just kind of go on a retrospective view of that game and of your career at Marlington.
So, I mean, I was just super blessed for the 4 years I had there. I think with this past year not being as good, obviously it really sucks being your senior year and not having the year you wanted, but I think it was honestly the best thing that could happen. I truly believe in it. Everything happens for a reason. And not coming off a surgery on my shoulder, I wasn't exactly 100% going into the season, and so it really made me fall back to my knowledge of the game, and it just really just taught me like from a whole different perspective, because like my junior year, I've always had a stronger arm, so I'd just get myself out of bad situations and kind of just let it go. But this past year, like I couldn't really do that, so it made me fall back on my knowledge of the game and looking pre-snap of what they're giving me, and then being a 3-year starter, a lot of teams threw a lot of stuff at me. So like we played Louisville and they were disguising coverages and stuff, and it was like the first time I've like got that. So I mean, it was just, I was really blessed that obviously sucks that we had a bad year, but I think moving forward on to college, it's made me a better player, and now with my arm being 100% again, lifting and everything, like. Just I'm super excited for the next level, and but yeah, I was super happy with the years I had at Marlington, the friendships I've made, and Coach Cardinal coming in my last 2 years, just making a huge, honestly, impact on my life. And I'm super blessed to have those 4 years there, and I will never forget it.
We're hoping to see you do some great things at MSJ, and maybe the stars will align, and we'll see you at Kerr Stadium a couple of years for a playoff game.
Hopefully, yeah. That's the plan. Definitely come home and hopefully get a win over Mount in the playoffs.
That would be cool. Mount Union, obviously, this year making it back to the Stag Bowl, second time in 3 years, and once again a familiar foe taking them down in North Central, a 16-point game in the end. That one, definitely a heartbreaker. You look at the team, a lot of great returners, a new quarterback next year with Noah Boudry now transferring to Adrian, Mikey Maloney stepping up as QB1. It is going to be an exciting year. We saw a lot of the freshmen really step up. On defense, Zach Liebler took advantage of a weak secondary due to injury because a couple of really big guys got hurt, and then Liebler was able to come in, make a couple of really good plays, and from then on, they trusted him back there, and that's a big thing looking at these Canton area schools. He went to Massillon, and Massillon, his senior year, won their first state title in how long?
Yeah.
At least 50 years, I think, back in the 60s or 70s. He was a big part of that as a captain. Him stepping in, there you go. We're getting a couple transfers coming in, I believe a couple OAC guys making the move. It'll be interesting to see how Mount looks next year, and same thing with MSJ, still having a lot of top guys, as you said, a receiver catching for over 1,400 yards. That'll be interesting to see if he can get better, as last year we saw a lot of different things happen with the OAC, especially having 3 playoff teams up until the final week where John Carroll punched their ticket over Marietta, who had been really good all year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, Mount Union's always got their thing going. They're always going to be a great team. Unfortunately, it just wasn't the fit for me. Also, 2 minutes down the road, wanted to be away from home a little bit. But yeah, Mount's always gonna have it going, no matter what. New quarterback, it doesn't matter. They got it going. But I was honestly happy to see Marietta had a great year, Muskegum had a great year. John Carroll always, even though they're leaving, because they don't want to play Mount anymore. But they're leaving. But yeah, no, the OAC definitely just getting better. I'm super happy because Mount Union's always just ran it, and then they played Marietta this year, and it was going to decide who was going to win it, and that was just great to see. Great to see other teams are just coming up, and I know Ohio Northern is also starting to get up there with the recruiting class this year. Still a couple of MSJ guys, so. Yeah, no, I'm super excited the OAC, and especially because at MSJ we play an OAC team every single year. Last year was Muskegum, I think. This year we got Bluffton, I'm pretty sure. Oh, we got Muskegum again and Bluffton, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, no, I'm excited to how the OAC has developed.
Oh, 100%. And Marietta last year, that would have been their first title in a really long time as well. They had that game until the end, and that was the emergence of TJ DeShields. A kid grew up in Beloit, went to West Branch. His dad coaches the girls basketball team. They moved a couple of games for West Branch. That way his dad could go see TJ play, which was really cool from West Branch. I love hearing those kind of stories. But Marietta, they had that game, and then Tyrell, that big catch in the end zone. Mm-hmm. If you go back on the feed, you'll see me just celebrating in the back of the end zone. I was taking pictures that game. I had a perfect angle, got the picture, and then it was time to celebrate yet another OAC title. Speaking of conference titles, the EBC in boys basketball is a bloodbath this year. Last Friday, January 3rd, everyone was 1-1 entering play. Now we do have some discrepancies. Salem at the bottom 1-4, Marlington 2-3, West Branch 2-3 in the middle of the pack. Carrollton dropping from first to third with their loss to Minerva. Minerva getting revenge for the EBC chance of the 22-23 season. Carrollton 3-2, Minerva 3-2, and A-Town Alliance on top, 4-1 record, losing 4 starters. Who saw this coming?
Can't lie, it was me. I did not really see that coming. I thought Marlington was really had a good chance for it. I thought West Branch was going to be a little better than they did. Minerva, watching them play, it's my type of basketball. It's like how I play 2K. It's kind of just shoot a bunch of threes, hope they go in. I feel like that's how Minerva but when Minerva's on, they're gonna win the game. And when they played Alliance, they just weren't making shots, and Alliance was, and that's why they won that game. But really, that's what I've noticed about Minerva. Just they're gonna shoot it, and if they're on, good luck. And if they're not, got a pretty good chance of winning. Marlington, I think they're going to be a lot better with returning their coach back. I think just they won't be as sloppy anymore. And, having guys like Dylan and Sam are both seniors, 2 really big guys you want to have in the paint. Them making plays, Parker making plays, Cam making plays. I mean, just they have a good set of guys. Alliance, I mean, they're rotating 9 guys in the game. And last year, that was one thing why they struggled a little bit is because they lost 4 starters, but those 4 starters were playing the entire game. None of them came out. But now having depth on the bench is I think huge for them. They have really good guys coming off the bench. It's really going to come down to the wire, and I'm excited to see it play out.
And going back to last year, in that Holy Name upset, Kayvon had to come out for a lot of that game because of injury, and then he was able to come back in after he got thrown into the padding on one of the backboards. But even in that game, they were able to rotate, but it was J.R. Jackson and Jaden Proctor running that game.
Yeah.
It was those 2 guys, but now you have a bunch of guys. You have Kavion Thomas, not to be confused with Kayvon Davis, who has since graduated, but he is now kind of the 6th or 7th man, and he's on the bench with Cole Pasco emerging as a really pleasant surprise this season.
Yeah.
He and Sam Hayes, it's thing 1, thing 2 in the paint, and it's difficult to get past either one of them.
Mm-hmm. And then having like a lot of insight on Alliance basketball, Sam Hayes coming out of nowhere. I think he's only a sophomore, came out of nowhere, but like him, Henry, Scheibel, and J.R. Jackson have all 3 this offseason put everything into it. They're in the gym every single day at 5:30 in the morning. And, I mean, just working all summer, doing 2-a-days in the summer, working out with Mal, and just, like, seeing those guys just progress from last year to this year is huge. Huge for them.
Oh, definitely. They have definitely gotten a lot better. And a big reason why, Chet Harper, the head coach, last year, I believe, 9-15 record, to this year being 6-4. The McKinley blood definitely helps. Harper coaching with Witherspoon over at McKinley for a number of years before Witherspoon did the switcheroo over to McKinley, and now Harper at Alliance. But he has really coached this team up to be a 9 or really 10-man, depending on the day, machine that can beat really anyone. Even the games they have lost, they have competed. A 20-point loss to Massillon Jackson is still a good result. You put 71 on one of the best teams in the Federal League. McKinley struggled to get up there, and they were able to win that game.
Right.
Getting that kind of result against a school like that, and even going up against McKinley, helps that team be prepared for the playoffs when the time comes. As of right now, I would be surprised if round 2 they were on the road again. And if they are, look out.
Right, yeah. And I think another thing about Coach Hop, him coming from McKinley, he plays all the Fed schools. If you look at Alliance schedule, one of the hardest, definitely the hardest in the EBC, I think. Playing teams like McKinley, Massillon, Glen Oak, like just playing all the Fed schools. And I think that just makes them Alliance an even better team, having games like that, and like even like beating Glen Oak, competing with McKinley. They still have Massillon. Jackson, that game, Jackson just made every single shot. Like, I went to the game, like did they put up 100, I think?
91.
91, yeah. I mean, they just made every single shot. The one kid was like 7 for 7 from 3. So games like that, you can't really do anything. But unless you're going 7 for 7 from 3 as well. But that's incredible. But just having games like that, and I think Alliance just plays to their competition, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Because like they took that loss to Carrollton, and I was there, and they really shouldn't have. They just had a bad night. But like they just always seem to play their competition, and I think playing those Fed schools definitely make them better.
Looking at Alliance's schedule up until the end of the month, you have Worcester tonight on the 14th. The 17th, you go to Salem. The 18th, you go to Hoover, I believe, to play Woodridge. The 21st, you host Carrollton. 24th, you're at West Branch. 31st, you're at home against Minerva. You only have one more EBC game after that, and same for Marlington. They play 4 more EBC games before the final one on the 7th against Alliance. Will we have a champion before the 10th and final quote-unquote game week of EBC play?
That's a really good question. Man, because like you said, it's going to be a bloodbath. It really is, and I'm super excited to see it all play out because, I mean, every game, you really don't know who's going to win every game. Like, every game I've been to this year with Alliance, it's just like, really got tonight? Like, I just never know who's really going to win these games. And, I mean, going to Marlington, like, talking to the basketball guys every day, it's like, are they going to pull this one out? Like, I have no idea. But if Alliance plays the way they've been playing the last 2 games, I think they have a really good chance of just sealing it. And actually, the last 2 weeks, they beat West Branch pretty good the one night. But West Branch was kind of off that game. But I think I would take Alliance winning it all if they keep on playing the way they're playing, but I wouldn't be surprised to see like Minerva, Carrollton even making a run out of it. Marlington still has. I mean, it's everybody has a chance. It's really not out of the picture for anybody. But yeah, I would think it might come down to the wire.
I believe we can eliminate Salem from contention Friday. If Alliance wins, they would then be 5-1. Salem 1-5. You don't pull the tiebreaker. Salem would be out of contention. But Friday, a game that I'm going to be at, Marlington playing Carrollton. Before the Minerva game, that was Carrollton's only loss. If Carrollton can get revenge for that loss and win, they have a chance. Otherwise, if they lose and Alliance wins, all of a sudden the EBC race is between Minerva, if they're able to beat West Branch, and Alliance. Still, Alliance could struggle. Salem could see, okay, we struggled in X department the last time. We're going to do Y to change that. It could really be anyone's conference. I feel like the winner is going to go 8-2. Mm-hmm. I feel like Alliance, they might struggle against a West Branch the second time because the third quarter was the difference in that game.
Right.
Take out that third quarter, and I think West Branch may have won that game. Mm-hmm. But I feel like West Branch, especially with the next game being a home game for the Warriors, that could be a big swing in momentum. And West Branch, a team not used to playing spoiler, could play spoiler.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, that West Branch game, Alliance has to go to West Branch. So that's huge. Personally, playing in football, obviously, I'm a lot better in football. But going to any West Branch at home game in any sport, the crowd's going to come. Their community is just, they have a great community. Just like Marlington Alliance. I mean, just great communities all around. But West Branch definitely is a top community, and just like having community there and the energy, I think that's going to be a huge game for Alliance. And then also, is Marlington at Salem, or are they home? Because that's going to decide that game, I think.
Let me double check.
It should.
Marlington won.
Because it will be at Salem.
It's at Salem.
It's going to be at Salem.
It's hard to win at Salem, but last year Marlington pulled out on a buzzer beater actually. So I'm excited to see that game. I think Marlington should pull away with that. Just watching Marlington and Salem both play, I think Marlington should win that game. But super interesting how the ABC is going to unfold for sure. And
then you have two non-conference questions here. First off, Louisville has the Alliance weekly double. On the 28th, they play Marlington. On the 1st, which is a Saturday in February, they play Alliance. We will be at Louisville. Thank you to the athletic staff at Louisville for allowing us to do that game. But that'll be interesting. But even tonight, Marlington going to Sandy Valley. I showed you before we started recording. Sandy Valley has a court projector for their introductions. I mean, I see the work you do. Is that something that you could even figure out?
We were literally just talking about, I was like, is there, because that's what the Cavs do. But, the Cavs is the NBA team, so, that's completely different. But, yeah, no, I have no idea. I'm thinking there's, projectors just, facing down or something, but, that's huge, though. That's sick. That's really sick of Sandy Valley.
And by mentioning it, you are now cursing the students next year to have that be their final project, probably. Figure that out.
No, hopefully, yeah. We're definitely going to show Mashar that, because we'll have to see what we can do with that, but... No, that's super cool though. That's really cool.
I feel like Marlington, you could figure it out, even if you had to attach the projector on the bottom of the press box, or do something really weird like that, or have it sideways project from one of the backboards. I think you could figure it out at both gymnasiums, or even clamp a projector onto both sides of the top railing at Harry Fales. I think you could get to work, but that would take a lot of time and effort and perfect execution. I feel like that would be something that you would save the quote-unquote fine china for Glen Oak, Louisville, and Marlington next year, and maybe another big team if they welcome someone else in. I think they also welcome in McKinley if that is a renewed game. Actually, all three of the Federal League schools would come here next year if that is a renewed contract, which I don't know what the schedule is going to look like next year. It's year 3. This can be really the first year where Coach Harper makes his schedule his own. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no. But I think that is something Alliance could do. Maybe not Marlington, because personally going to Marlington, that ceiling is
small.
I mean, if you watch any of those volleyball games, huge home field advantage for volleyball, because they'd be hitting off the roof and it comes flying down. But yeah, I could definitely see Alliance doing that, especially with the budget Alliance has. But Yeah, no, for sure. Like, definitely going to talk to some teachers about that because that's sick. Even though I'm not going to be here, but like for the future, maybe. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
It would be amazing to figure that out. As we close things out, Bryson, any final thoughts? Any Alliance, Marlington, Mount Union things kind of in the back of your mind?
Not really. The only thing I would have to say is just excited to see how the ABC plays out for basketball. And definitely be some interesting games coming up. But yeah, no, and especially if you can't make it to the games, definitely recommend watching his streams. I'm sure you're gonna have it somewhere on your website which games you're doing, but definitely if you guys watch any of my my videos I make for Alliance, you'll hear his voice in the back. He's a very energetic guy, great guy to listen to. So definitely highly recommend to listen to his streams. I
appreciate that, and as well, I think. We've told the story a couple of times. Do you want to tell the story of how we kind of first, quote-unquote, met back in March?
So, I covered a Alliance basketball game and the Holy Name playoff game, which Holy Name was supposed to actually win. I was just talking to Jaden Proctor about it the other day, how they were like 20-point underdogs going into that game. And then one of the Holy Name kids was talking crap, and so it was just like Alliance had a huge energy for that game and ended up coming and winning that game. And I made a video out of it, and this guy just kept on popping up. We were literally just talking about it. Like, he just kept on popping up. And then I went back and watched his stream, and he was just super loud and energetic. It was awesome. So I put it in the video, and then I did not give him credit for the video. I forgot to tag him, really give him any credit for it. So, and then September, I did a broadcast. We broadcasted a girls' soccer game for Alliance, and he was like, I forget exactly what we talked about it, but I was like, you said something about not mentioning in the video. I was like, yeah, that was me. That was me. I'm so sorry. And then we've kind of just hit it off from there.
Yeah, that was fun, and it's kind of more fun to joke. I believe I messaged Jaden about that. Like, I was in study hall. I remember seeing this video. I'm like, that guy didn't tag me. I just hear that video. I'm like, okay. It was a good video, I will say that, and I know exactly which interview you're talking about. I now tell people before interviews, be careful what you say, and I actually wish the best of luck to that kid, as he is, I believe, making his debut at his new school tomorrow in a basketball game. Probably the biggest men's game tomorrow as Lou West welcomes in his school in Bucknell, because that is going to be a very exciting game. But going back to that, you're right. Holy Name was favored. You had the big three of Stiers, Bolin, and Evanich all intact. Evanich graduated, Bolin transferred. It's Drew's team now, and I'm actually going there in, I believe, from now 7 hours to call their game against Garfield Heights, where Marcus Johnson and company look to get to 10-0 on the year. They're a tough team. They play McKinley in a couple weeks, I believe, on the 26th. I think that might be a tournament game. That is going to be exciting, but still, that was a fun thing. Looking forward to some more collabs, a lot more Alliance games. As he said, I should have most of the links up by the time this is out. I still have to put Louisville up. And then Brother versus Brother, Garfield taking on Warrensville. Link number 2 still has to go up. But I think everything else should be up there for now. If not, I will correct that. And obviously there will be some changes with snow days and all that other things where a game could slide in. There was a chance today, if that Garfield game was canceled, I'd be here for the Alliance Worcester game. You never know. And especially when we get to spring, that is going to be tough to keep everything organized, because if you're scheduled at Marlington, you better have Alliance on speed dial, because you're going to play at that field. I mean, it's all turf. You have the press box. You're playing that game. So we'll definitely have to be organized there. This podcast, hoping for it to be a bi-weekly thing, weekly thing. I don't know exactly our vision yet. Bryson, any thoughts on that?
No, I'm just super excited to be on a podcast. So, we're definitely going to go into some planning. This kind of just happened really quick, so definitely have to go into everything.
And as well, follow SmeeSports on Instagram at SmeeFist2024 on Twitter. I believe this will be on the YouTube channel. If not, go subscribe to the SmeeSports YouTube channel. Hit the notification button so you're alerted when I upload or go live. Looking to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this school year, so June 1st is the deadline for that. Right now, I believe we're at 686, hoping to hit 700 either tonight or after the Carrollton game, which right now the Carrollton support, I think we can hit it. So that would be a monumental milestone, especially given I started the year, what was it, 2 weeks ago at 520, and then all of a sudden 4.5 live viewers for the Warrensville-Garfield game. Completely changed the game there. So hoping to grow. And Bryson as well, plug your social medias. I know you do a lot of great work on there.
My main Instagram is just Bryson McCord, and then my media account is bryson.prod, Bryson with an X. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
With that, thank you for watching the first episode of Inside the A&M, where we bring you your weekly or bi-weekly dose of Alliance, Marlington, and Mount Union. He has been Bryson McCord. I am Nathan Smee. We will catch you next time.
See ya.